All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Xul Gin Distillery Invitational. I guess they have esports on this version of it in the Discord. It's just the XGDI lettering. So tonight we are gonna see a matchup between our host team, Xul Gin Distillery, and Ban Cho. Both of these teams were Division C East representatives from NGS. I believe that they were 9 and 10, maybe, in the overall season standings for where their rankings. Just taking a quick look at where they are right now, though. So we do see 6 and 8. So, but they don't have quite as many games played as some of the other teams either. There was no real way for me to show this on here. So, you know, certainly with a win today. One of these teams with 2 points could certainly, you know, vault themselves up pretty far up the standings. And as you can see, even though they're 6 and 8, they're technically tied as far as the number of points. So, best of 2 tonight. So 1 point available for each of these teams potentially if they should split. And the maps that we're going to be looking at. So we have a slightly different map setup. The first map bans are to Dragonshire and Battlefield of Eternity, and then since we're doing 2 maps, we do have them set up in advance, so we know exactly where we're going for both of these games. So Xul Gin Distillery picked game number 1. That's going to be Volskaya Foundry. Game number 2 is going to be on Infernal Shrines, which was picked by Ban Cho. Looks like they even have the people on the right side. Excellent. Did I golf today? No, I don't golf. I may have mentioned that in my earlier stream, but you might have missed that. No, I like this shirt just because of the fact that it's a light material. It allows me to go out when it's warm, and I actually got the shirt originally for a somebody was doing like a Hawaiian cookout day thing at their house, and I needed something loud, and the only available kind of Hawaiian shirts were they didn't really fit me well, so I got this. Thus I'm wearing the shirt. All right, so let's see, who do we have for the teams here tonight? So we've got Blue Steam, Skev, Sluggadin, Quinall, assuming Spice is going to make up that last slot. And then we've got DeWitt, Be Fresh, Leadaster, Ankle Shot, and Cowboy Kyle. And it is not Spice, it is Shusui. So I will update that. So, nothing too crazy as far as like rules and stuff like that. Let's make sure they have a reminder. Sledgehammer equals no. So, I also did not mini golf today. So just as a reminder, the one thing that's really banned in here is no sledgehammer, because Murden's level 4 talent. If you're not already aware and you want to go take advantage of this and some QM shenanigans, when you take the level 4, anything that you hit allows you to stack your level 1 quest. Sorry, not your level 1 quest, your baseline quest. Getting to that 25 stacks and the piercing sledgehammer a little bit faster. Okay, and letting them know that I am all ready to go. What else do I have to show you, ladies and gentlemen? Let's see. So I showed you the maps. I showed you the standings. Had a little bit of commercial time. At the bottom here, right below, check out, we do have, I don't have any more XGDI games that are on the schedule, on the calendar with a caster yet. There is one tomorrow evening. Let me just take a look and see when and where. Between Wood League and Do It Right, so that's gonna be at 8:30 p.m. But you can also see some of the Wono and Mongoose Club Fiesta games that are, you know, cycling through there that are gonna be coming up the next couple of days. So I'll be doing one of those. Ziltoid's got one. Somebody else has one. I don't remember who it is, but that Slexia has one, and that's later on in the week. So And it looks like we are all set and ready to go, getting started on this Volskaya Foundry draft. So let me go ahead and flip over to that. So here we go. So first pick is going over to Ban Cho, and they're going to start us off nice and fresh with some Kale Thos bandage. Kale Thos is a very solid hero in the Volskaya Foundry. Nice contained area to throw out his flame strikes, and living bomb can spread very easily, so not a band that surprises me too much. And then of course a new Barak being a very strong what's your muscles. You got the wrong guy. We do see a new Barak, very strong tank. Still, the reduction on his cocoon, like from 8 seconds to 7 seconds, is noticeable, especially like for dot damage and stuff like that, because that's one less hit you have to make on the cocoon, but it's still really strong. Followed up by the Alex Straza band, so no Super Dragon Queen tonight on Volskaya Foundry. And Diablo, so a bit of a tank choke coming out from the Xul Gin Distillery. And some shenanigans, Rock'em Sock'em robots coming out from Ban Cho, clearly incensed by this. Anna making the first pick tonight. Again, kind of with that zone control, she can really lock down the healing if your team's going on, you know, heavy onto a target, and she can prevent them from getting the enemy heals. Really help you to secure that kill. So the Arthas and Raynor. So Arthas is, let's go take a look at my old notes on this team, shall we? I think, if I remember correctly, that Arthas was a pretty common pick for them in the solo. Relatively common pick, yeah. So, and actually it was their most common, more so than even Leoric, so not a big surprise there. And Blaze and Orpheus, and now we've got a stun, potential Crushing Jaws follow-up with that, or even a Sleep Dart out of Ana could set up a solid Crushing Jaws combo. I like Orphea a lot, and I think she's really strong on this map. Mama Thick Strazaban. And continuing the deep tank choke on with Johanna. Kind of surprised at the order there with the changes to some of these tanks. You know, it seemed like Diablo was kind of the compass, the north point of the compass anyways. And so he didn't really, I don't think he got any changes, but you did see some changes coming out for Johanna, which helped her Iron Skin. You saw some changes for Anubrak, which scaled him back a little bit. And Tyraniban. So one team banning out supports, the other team banning out the tanks. So where do we go with this? So Xul Gin Distillery, I think, is likely looking at ETC or okay, Stitches. And Ban Cho. So what do they? They still need a tank. Johanna, Anubrak, those were the most played. They could still look at ETC. Not one of their best, but fourth most played based on what I saw, Stitches being their other one. So, but maybe we see like a Murden pop up here, because Murden did get some adjustments and some buffs. But it is that ETC with a Maya. So a nice solid setup there, some potential stuns. You've got the Mosh that can either set up the Crushing Jaws, or if they choose to go into that Eternal Feast. Stitches and Jaina, on the other hand, you've got the slows, the Raynor to combo off of the slows. You got the pulls in, the knockbacks, the roots, the combo roots, or potentially a water elemental to sit there on Ana and make her day slow. And rounding it out with Malfurion. So Malfurion's going to bring the mana. He's going to bring the cooldown reduction, like all that stuff. And of course, I was not paying attention. Let's see if I can get this quickly enough. Jaina, Cowboy Kyle, Arthas. All right, here we go into game number 1 between Xul Gin Distillery and Ban Cho. Boosting on Maiev. Please. Orphea. That's swapped over now. There we go. Always takes a second the first time I swap that. I don't believe that Anduin... No, Anduin's not banned. He's available. All right, so for the blue team here, we've got Xul Gin Distillery. And I'm going to go ahead and pop up those player windows. So we've got DeWitt on the Stitches, Be Fresh on Raynor, Cowboy Kyle is on the Arthas, Ankle Shot on Jaina, and Lead Aster on Malfurion. And coming up for Ban Cho, we've got Quinal on Ana, Sluggadin on Orphea, Bluestein on Maiev, Shusui on ETC, and Skev on Blaze. Get some spray action out of that Malfurion. Getting a little love there. So we haven't seen level 1s out of Arthas or Jaina. Okay, she goes Fingers Frost. So everybody looking for globes up in here with the Prog Rock and the Unstoppable quest for Blaze. And Arthas still has not selected his. So we'll have to wait and see if he goes with that root quest or if he instead goes for the Frostmourne Hungers build. And Raynor gets put to sleep, and Maiev dives in, realizing that there's absolutely no support for Be Fresh here. But thanks to that Q, he's going to get knocked back. Shusui's going to power slide over the Stitches, but again, kind of same scenario where there's just no real follow because they were down below. And Maev's going to get rooted as she's trying to pull Stitches back in toward the towers, but she's going to make it away. So Orpheus heading down, getting started on this fortification camp early for Ban Cho, and Ana's going to go ahead and join her. Xul Gin Distillery working on that soak. They're slightly ahead in that, and we'll zoom out a little bit here so that we can see better what's going on the map here. Let's take a look at what's going on in the solo lane at this time. So things are a little bit small, but you can see the fortification camp was picked up by Ban Cho. Just a moment, we'll see that picked up by Xul Gin. And in the bot lane here, Arthas and Blaze, just pretty equal. I mean, similar mana, similar health. But up here in the top lane, we've got a little bit of a skirmish as DeWitt's going to get caught. And it's going to be first blood onto the Stitches. Maiev is low health, but she's going to get shot by Ana and be okay. Orpheus heading down to keep that soak going. Overall, things pretty close. Once these minions die, that'll be a dead even race for them, and it is the eternal hunger for Arthas. So expect to see Icy Talons coming up here, and then maybe a Rune Tap after that to keep him in the fight against that Blaze and ETC. And it is going to be Icy Talons, so that'll give him that attack speed. Xul Gin Distillery starts off with their camp, gets this going here, and will proc it right away. They want to get onto that point, probably. And Sluggadin and Bluestein over here, a little bit behind, but not too far. They're going to go ahead and get that going as well. And we do see the pause on Stitches there in that bush. Ana managed to get him put to sleep. And it's like, Xul Gin Distillery is going to go ahead and stay up here for a moment. They're going to clear out this camp that Ban Cho sent out and get a little bit of damage on that wall. See how long they stick on this. Oh, the big root onto ETC, and they'll finish that job. But Bluestein pulls in Be Fresh and Lead Aster, and Be Fresh is going to go down thanks to those turrets and the finish by Orphea. And here we go, another potential multi-cleave coming in. There's the pullback onto the Stitches as Bluestein very low thanks to that turret just chunking her down, but everybody's gonna make it out from Ban Cho. And now Xul Gin Distillery gets some of their percentage over here thanks to Cowboy Kyle coming up. Level 7's online for Ban Cho currently. And as you can see up in the top here, they're on fire with those kills, 4-1 so far. And here's the answering level 7s coming out for Xul Gin Distillery. So 61% all set for Xul Gin. 28% and counting now for Ban Cho. And here they come into this fight. They know that they've backed away to get that turret camp. And so this is a 5v3 right now. But now they've got it, and here they come. And we've got the power slide in onto Jaina. She's very low as Maiev coming in gets 3 people tethered, trying to pull him back. But Shusui is too low. He's got to be careful here. Bluestein's actually going to be the one that goes down with Arthas just staying on her and slowing things down, keeping her from getting away. And Arthas can do a whole lot of damage, keeping things going with his Icy Talons, and that Frostmourne just manages to get so many auto attacks in a very short period of time. And DeWitt looking for that hook onto Sluggaden, but behind that wall he just didn't have the vision for it. And so now, even short of Maiev, they're going to come in here, push this into overtime. The chomp coming out from Sluggaden, trying to get damage out there onto Lead Aster, but Shusui gets rooted. Cowboy Kyle and Lead Aster very low. Maiev gets to the party and gets those Phantom Dive resets, and holy cow, 4 for 1, make it 5 for 1, a full team wipe coming out thanks to that Maiev pushing back hard. And this looks like it's going to be a protector for Ban Cho, and they're going to step in and take this aggressive fortification camp. 5 for 1 trade and a protector. The interface for like this overlay for the talents is called Ali Obs, AHLIOBS, but it's only allowed during like observer mode, so you can't use this during the match, like a regular match. But it also pops up the talents on the right side of the screen when they come up, so I can just put it away every once in a while. So Ban Cho did get the wall down in the mid. They're getting this full wall down up top here. I don't know that they're quite going to be able to get down the well, as level 10's now online for them. We do have the Warden's Cage Combustion. They do go with the Eternal Feast along with that Mosh Pit, and we'll have to wait and see what Anna's going to go. I assume that we'll see the big Mosh right into nothing, gets booped away. Shusui is in danger, and Jaina will finish that kill as they pop the Eternal Feast to try to use it to zone out and prevent the death of ETC. Very good boop back there from Raynor to make sure that his team was nice and safe. I think only one person was in danger of being caught by that, but even still, good positioning on Xul Gin to be spread apart in ways that they couldn't be caught by that. Cowboy Kyle very deep here in this, but unfortunately Skep doesn't have enough mana to actually get him. And so Orphea and Anna come over here, pick up their fortification camp, keeping the equipment advantage for the most part in their favor, although keep in mind that DeWitt and Xul Gin Distillery did earlier pick up this support camp. So right now 1 for 1 in item advantage, pretty equal, but I think that it's very slightly in favor over to Xul Gin with that heal camp. And actually I should double check that. No, it's 2 for 1. So we've got 2 turrets and 1 heal camp. So I still think that that heal camp is more valuable. It's 40% healing and mana, but look at this, Maiev diving in on the Jaina. She's not going to get caught and pulled back by the tether, but a lot of damage. Trying to keep track of any questions or statements you've got there, Butte. I have a nice big wall of Butte holidays, or beautiful holidays, so And so look at this Arthas here with his Frostmourne just attacking so fast, doing so much damage to that Blaze. And it's going to be a 4-for-1 as they're trying to catch up to him, but he does manage to get out there. Good question. It looks like she does finally pick her level 10 before getting level 13, and it is going to be Nano Boost. Coming out from Xul Gin Distillery, what are they looking to do? They're getting a little cheeky, just running a little dance. We get the pull onto Ana into the root. She's in danger, but it looks like she's safe. The Eternal Feast going in under that Warden's Cage, followed up by the ETC Mosh. And that cheeky play just cost them a support camp and 4 of their precious player lives. So about those ultimates, so we did see some of those, but we did see the Army of the Dead for Arthas, Twilight Dream, Ring of Frost, Rainer's Raider, and Putrid Bile for Stitches. And now, thanks to that 4-man almost wipe, you're gonna be able to get a lot of damage, possibly even finish up this top fort. Very strong play coming out from Ban Cho to punish that that aggressive pull from DeWitt and the rest of the team. And it looked very close. It looked like Ana was in a position that she was going to go down. But having Bluestein dive in with that. And here we go again, maybe. They don't have all of their cooldowns available though, so just pulling them back into this. The hook onto ETC, he gets brought down to half very quickly. And he's got one of the 2 turrets, so if he gets down too low, he's going to have to drop that to make sure they don't throw it. And there's the power slide. Root on to ETC again, and Bluestein is deep in all by himself. We do see most of the cooldowns coming up here. Pull back in onto Stitches. Warden's Cage is available, but it's the Twilight Dream silencing the Blaze, and Blaze is going to go down, but Orphea finishes off both Malfurion and Raynor, and Stitches dies as well, and now a Phantom Knives is going to kill. It's not going to be Phantom Knives. They've Ana grenades. That's all they need. A 5-man team wipe once again in favor of Ban Cho. Level 16's online. Yeah, then I'd have to reset the whole page. Besides, I don't want to do that. I'm keeping track. I appreciate you, beautiful Holiday, for hanging out with us here tonight at the Xul Gin Distillery Invitational. Right now, this game has mostly been a Ban Cho highlight reel, but you know, there've been a lot of really close plays. They just a little bit away from getting them complete. So, you know, don't count Xul Gin Distillery out, because they're in a position where they could potentially grab, you know, one person, finish them off, and then that could be their fight. All right, so Ban Cho is electing to bring this protector all the way to the other side of the world, or at least the other half of Russia, to this bot lane. Looking to get this wall down. Gotta get that laser on the wall, guys. All the way. So we do see a hook used there, but just walks away from that damage. And we see ETC and Maiev. So a lot of the danger for Ban Cho is sitting in that protector. But watch out, when they come out of that protector, they can dive right in. And if they're not careful, that's just a moment ago, it could have been 5-men, you know, ETC Mosh. And they do have this available. So now that this protector's going down, let's see what happens. Starting to spread. Oh, they're starting to clump up. Oh, this is a bad thing for them. They're doing it again. All of them in the Warden's Cage. And there goes the Eternal Feast. The big stuns, the Unstoppable coming out from Blaze. Bluestein is not done with that nano boost, but is gonna barely make it alive out of that tower range. And you saw it right as the protector was going down. They all started to clump up in the same area, and they're lucky that they weren't just a half a second faster on that, or that would have been a 5-man wipe. You think team fight wins by holding your talents, certainly could be part of it. Support camp coming up, so that'll give them a support camp and a turret. And if you're Xul Gin Distillery right now, you've got to get to 16. You got to be careful here because they're all right there, and you have to make sure that you know where the enemy team is, and if you don't, you can't go too far outside of your walls. You know that they're going to come take this camp because your raider is there. But apparently, Ban Cho is not willing to press that advantage more than they feel they have to. They want you to get started on that camp. And then once you're there in a bad position, then they'll come in. And it looks like Be Fresh is going to get pulled in. The Eternal Feast going out. The jet propulsion not hitting anybody, but he's just close enough to get that shot out. And that one kill then sets them up. So now Xul Gin Distillery's got to kill this camp. The control point C probably coming up in about another 60 seconds or so. And the map is looking very red right now for Ban Cho. And they're going to be able to get both of these, the siege camp as well as this fortification camp, with relative ease. That is a very good point. Pretend like your teammates smell. Spread apart. Yes, absolutely. You've got every reason to spread apart. You've got Maiev cages. You've got jet propulsions. You've got Orphea feasts. You've got ETC mosh. Like, there's no reason that you ever want to be close to any of your teammates, nor should they be, right? Raynor, Jaina, Malfurion, they should all be in a bit better position. So Heart's coming back out because, of course, Ban Cho is pushing in this bot lane even more. I'm gonna get this full wall down before anybody can get here. The hook goes out on Maya, but she uses that vault. And here comes the Warden's Cage, followed by Eternal Feast. The ring goes out, manages to hit 3. That probably saves a lot. And the Biotic Emitter now on the ground was not used. The ETC Mosh does get Cowboy Kyle pulled into it, though. Silence goes out to stop it, but not before Malfurion gets killed. Dewit is trying to get this Maya, misses the hook, and barely makes it out with his life. So a 3-for-2 trade. That's probably the best fight that they've had, except they're going back in, which is very questionable considering who's left. And now you just lost your ETC. So now you've got Raynor, and they're going to come over and get this fortification camp because it's free. Be Fresh is going to come over here. I think he's just going to sniff it out and then... Wow. I'm really surprised that was not just a dead Raynor. Quinal, Ana here, gonna go ahead and get down here, start channeling some percentage. They are now level 20. Let's take a look at these level 20 talents. So we do see the Shadow Orb Vengeance here, allowing the Spirit of Vengeance to be... Actually, I don't know what the hell this does. Yeah, okay. Reset on the cooldown. We've got the additional upgraded combustion, the upgraded Eternal Feast, which is kind of disgusting. Upgraded nano for that healing, which is just going to make it even more difficult for them. And then death metal. So you expect to see very aggressive ETC plays. And the way that Xul Gin Distillery has been clumping up, I mean, one bad play from them and they all just die at this point, because that could be a good 8 seconds of mosh pit. Jet propulsion into the back, hits 2, the combustion coming out, the tether pulls in Dewit and Ledaster, but the Twilight Dream silences them, manages to get the kill onto the Maya thanks to this power slide, gets onto the Arthas and Stukov, and they go straight back to the graveyard. Jaina is gonna be able to make it out. Raynor is running away from those minions, and this is going to be a third and potentially final protector for Ban Cho. Blaze and ETC hopping in there, the lower siege heroes on this team. So you've got Ana and Orphea to do the damage. Of course, Maev's still in the graveyard, so we've got 10 seconds until Malfurion's up. Don't expect a whole lot of value out of that. You've got your damage here, so as long as you can avoid dying, you can potentially get some pretty good damage out of this. You're not level 20, so You don't have the upgraded Raider or, well, whatever Jane is going. But B-Fresh gets chunked down thanks to that Orphea, and damage coming out from the Protector, which, keep in mind, was reduced onto heroes, but it's increased on Siege, and it's just melting this core as game number 1 going over to Ban Cho. Eight kills to 29. And look at those stats. Orphea herself with 11 kill secures, 14 assists. Really just knocking out those numbers. Big damage. And those combos, you know, I would be hard pressed to say who the MVP was on the side of Ban Cho. There were plays made by Ana with the sleep darts, ETC with the power slides and the mosh pits, Maev with the Warden's Cage and the tethers, Blaze with the jet propulsions, you know, followed by the combustion. You know, I don't think I saw a whole lot of Orphea creating plays, but she was always there to follow up on the plays. And the one kill that you had on that ETC in that top lane, trying to protect him with that Eternal Feast, a lot of value there. So, you know, if you're Ban Cho, this game feels fantastic. If you're Xul Gin Distillery, that was pretty rough overall. You couldn't quite get your comp online. You had a lot of damage in there, a lot of potential, but just couldn't quite make it happen. So we'll see how they make this work out in game number 2, which once again is going to be on Infernal Shrines, I believe. Let's take a look. What did I say earlier? On Infernal Shrines, yes, in fact. So let's see. Volskaya Foundry was won by a red. There we go. All right, we will be back in just a moment for game number 2.
When I was young, I lived a life of recklessness. In my selfishness, I inflicted pain and hurt those I cared for. I have learned many lessons in my struggles with doubt and fear. Balance and harmony are not easily attained. They must be fought for! But on my journey, I have learned another lesson. You do not have to fight alone.
Let's do this!
much for us to settle.
All right, our teams aren't ready just yet, but figured I'd come back here and say hi to everybody. So quick look at the standings. So for Sigrun, basically it's 2 games. Why did they leave? Let's check on this. I don't understand why they're leaving. Okay, there we go. Now people are coming in. So anyways, it's best of 2, and for each win you get a point. So currently the teams that are playing are Ban Cho and Xul Gin Distillery, which are technically tied at that bottom rank, but they also haven't played as many games. So with this tonight, obviously Ban Cho will go up 1 point. If they get another point, then that will put them pretty much tied for 2nd place. So let's see. That all looks right. So our next map here is going to be on Infernal Shrines. We just saw Volskaya Foundry, which was picked by Xul Gin Distillery. And Ban Cho had quite the showing up there. Ban Cho picked Infernal Shrines here, so this is their map. And of course, as mentioned earlier, we had Dragonshire and BOE, Battlefield of Eternity, were banned out. Okay, so it looks like they're all set there. Let them know that I am ready. Let's see, what else do we have going on here? So I did the standings, I did the maps. I guess I'll just go back to my pretty face. So, well, I've got nothing better to do here. So over my left shoulder here, we've got the BlizzCon art from, was that this year? I think that was this year. Behind me directly, I don't know if I can get to out of the way here, was from a couple of years ago. I think that was 3 years ago. That was the Orphea poster, and then of course this is the original canvas, and that was 2015 I think. If any of you happen to know somebody who has the 2016 Anna canvas, I'm trying to find that one. I didn't get that one that year. I got a place where it would look really nice, right there, and then I can move my computer over there. So everybody says they're ready, but nobody's hitting the start button. So let's see. So Sigrun, we're about 40% of the way through the overall matches of the Invitational. So there's still a few weeks left for the teams to go through in a round robin. Again, there are 8 teams in the overall format, and then of course there'll be playoffs at the end of that, and then there'll be brackets from there. So I also, you can't see it because I've got them off screen, but I've got my my little cinder kitten here, which does a wave thanks to the light. It's not, you can't really see it from there. I do not remember the name of this one, but I got this at BlizzCon as well. And of course the Alliance Griffin, yep, throwing it down, shouting it out. And now of course my dog is extremely interested in what the hell I'm doing as I'm throwing things around my room here. Let's see, so we are in our draft, so let's go ahead and flop over to that. As we see Maya banned. Wonder why that happened. And continuing on with that Kael'thas ban, followed up by the Nubarak. So Alex Raza was banned last game in this slot. Alex Raza can still do a lot of value here, or bring a lot of value here, so it would not surprise me to see them ban her in this slot as well. All right. So one slight deviation, instead of the Diablo, they get rid of the Maya, which, you know, regardless of the fact that everybody helped to set up plays, Maiev was very challenging for them to deal with. They didn't have a unstoppable like a Johanna or even a Garrosh, or for that matter Blaze, who could just clear out the cage and give them the ability to back out. The tethers, you know, they played clustered together a lot when they really needed to not. So no big surprise that they, you know, want to have that Kael'thas banned out on the other side. You know, but in some ways I almost feel like they could have let that through and just picked it up, because Xul Gin was very close together that whole time. And we will get to see, at least for me anyways, the first Anduin game coming out from potentially Blue Steam there, if they don't change people around. Followed up with the Johanna. So Anduin's gonna let them play even more aggressively in a way, because he can just pull them back. If things get too dangerous for them, they've got that leap of faith to pull you back. And the follow-up of DeWitt on Diablo and Cowboy Kyle on that Leoric, so we are getting to see that second string, I don't want to say second string, but the second most played solo lane for Cowboy Kyle, trying to get something done a little bit differently. And this gives them a little bit of value, because they've got the sleep potential, which, you know, again was on the other side. Now they've got the Entomb, which eventually, you know, upgrades into that silence. More mage banning coming out to get rid of that Jaina. And of course the potential for that APOC into the Entomb, but they could even go with a Dragon's Breath into that. So, you know, if they're banning out Kael'thas, you know, perhaps they're a little bit concerned about being clustered too closely together. Infernal Shrines is a great map for the Kael'thas too, because you throw a Living Bomb on a Skeletal Defender, all of a sudden it's everywhere. And we do see an Orphea ban, so they looked at that and said, you know what, we really don't want to see any more of that. And she did a lot of damage. You know, again, she was the follow-up, so, you know, I don't know that, personally, I don't know that I feel that was worth the ban. But maybe. So Raynor switching teams just as Ana did. Now going over to Sluggaden, and followed up by that Imperius. So Imperius still does a truckload of damage against Diablo and Leoric with that percentage talent at level 1. Not always the pick. I think it is here. And now, how do you counter this? Do you see maybe like a... I was just gonna say, a Cassia. Okay. So, and then a Mephisto. So, okay. I don't know what we're gonna... How we're gonna see, like... Are we gonna see the Consumed Souls, which can be pretty well blocked by Anduin? They do have the Diablo to counter, as well as Ana to counter the Holy Word Sanctuary. But other than that, like the Light Bomb, I think you could put on to Imperius or Johanna if you wanted to go that route. And they were, you know, clustering together fairly significantly, so it is certainly possible they could go that route. But if you're paying attention and you're doing well, just like with Amaj, if you use your ability, your Holywood Sanctuary correctly, you can deny that burst, just kind of similar to like a sound barrier, and not have to worry as much about the interrupt. But you have to be, it's a half-second cast, so it's got to be right on. So it'll be interesting. Now, Durance could be a good one here. Fairly narrow area, spreading that route to the team, and then of course at level 20 potentially taking the upgrade. I don't know if that's what people generally take with that, but it's a possibility. So for Xul Gin Distillery looking to come back and even out this match, we have Lead Aster on Ana, Cowboy Kyle on Leoric, B-Fresh on Cassia, Ankle Shot going to be playing that Mephisto, and D-Wit holding down the graveyard on Diablo. Coming up for Ban Cho, Bluestein's going to be on the Imperius, Skev is on the Johanna, Quinal on Hanzo, Shusui on the Anduin, and Slugganen is going to be playing that Rainer. I think my player windows may not be... Yeah, my player windows were not correct. Ah! I hate it when they change last second like that. So let's take a look at these talents here as Diablo is setting up for potentially a gank. We do see the quest talent for the Skull Missile coming out from Mephisto. No real surprise there. The Explosive Arrow out of Hanzo. Not sure whether that's the way I would have gone or not. And going to be taking a close look at the build that Anduin goes here. He does go for that Renew, so that auto attack from him gives him an extra heal over time. And looking at Skev here, who says, I don't care if they buff that Iron Skin talent, I want Laws of Hope. And he took that into Ana, so again, I think I might have taken that a little bit differently, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out for them. Yes, you are, Keladorn, and thank you again for those 69 bits. Much appreciated. So pretty even overall here, and in the top lane, you know, Bluestein and Cowboy Kyle, we don't have a lot. Like, Bluestein has to be a little bit careful because he doesn't have the heal on his level 4, but Leoric also kind of in a similar boat. He doesn't have his full set of talents to make it so that he can really stay in this. So if he misses a spooky hand, which of course he didn't miss that one, it was right there. It's a dangerous time, and they're both so low. Oh my goodness, 13 health on Bluestein. Sure glad that we were watching that. Just barely manages to make it out as he gets a tap there. So it looked like Hanzo was starting to work on that, but that siege camp, but no real follow-up to help him, so he had to back away. Diablo catches him on the rotation, but again, limited follow-up. Whoa now. So Bluestein and Cowboy Kyle here going at it once again, and look at how much damage that one set of Valorous Brand brings him down so much. And now it's Leoric's turn, who has to back away, but he does get the Celestial Charge onto him, and thanks to his armor, he's just bringing him down, but the Spooky Hand keeping him alive. But it's going to be Bluestein who takes that first blood off of Leoric in this map. But it's okay, because Leoric will be back in just a few seconds. So he's not even going to lose really much, if any, soak up here. First Punisher, first Shrine coming up here, and it is going to be a Mortar Punisher. Keep in mind that they did buff these Punishers here a couple weeks ago, so Mortar Punishers do a big burst. Their mortars are more damage. Come join us. All kinds of craziness going on in chat today. So some damage come out from each team, but no real completion here. As Diablo charges in onto Imperius, puts him into the wall, but Bluestein's going to go ahead and Celestial Charge out of that. The double sleep onto Skev and Bluestein. Bluestein's got to back away. He's got no mana, and they're at 29 now of 40 stacks. So this is going to give Xul Gin Distillery a little bit of a chance to catch up. As Cassia will finish off the Hanzo up above. Chasing him down. There's the charge onto B-Fresh, but D-Wit charges in himself to get to protect that Cassia, and it's a 5 versus 4 in favor of Xul Gin Distillery right now. 33 to 38. They're so close together though. Imperius will charge onto B-Fresh, getting the charge, and it's going to be the Punisher going over to Ban Cho. And Leoric trying to make it out. It looks like he will. And so now they've got to defend this beefy Punisher as Imperius will chase down the Cassia up in the mid lane. And again, it doesn't matter that you have that 40 physical armor if Imperius gets a charge stun on you and has percent damage. That bypasses all of that. And you lose your armor when he charge stuns you. So, of course, Mephisto, when he uses his shade, I don't recall the exact name of the ability, but his, let's see if there, when he picks his level 7 talent, I can check it. But when he uses that, he just goes back to where he was. And now we see that Hanzo, Quinol is in a precarious position, but there was no walls for Diablo to charge him into. And, Ban Cho's going to go ahead and pick up their camp and start heading towards that bot camp. Mephisto not taking it. There we go. Is it Shade of Mephisto? I feel like that's what it's called. It is. And now 3v3 on this camp. Diablo just gets caught by the... I don't remember that name of Anduin's ability. The Root, anyway. Which allows them to secure that camp and walk away. Gosh, I really should know that ability. So looking at this, so he does get the increased auto attack speed and the attack range from that inner fire, and then power word shield. So every time he throws out that W, that divine star, and hits a hero, he's gonna gain a shield, giving him a little bit of self-sustain for 4 seconds after hitting those. So a 4v3 in the bot lane. The only damage for the team, Mephisto, is in a tough spot, but Diablo flips over Skev, pushes him into the wall, doesn't get the stun, and so Johanna's just gonna walk away. But he does finish off his souls. And Mephisto going deep for trying to get some damage there. If you play Mephisto, though, you got to keep in mind that everybody can see where you came from, right? Your Shade of Mephisto leaves a ghostly image of where you're going back to, so you have to be really careful about that. Something like a Chastise, that's that ability that I couldn't remember the name of earlier, from Anduin, or a Celestial Charge from Imperius can really, heck, even Johanna Condemn or Blessed Shield, a Q from Raynor. Like, there are so many ways to make Mephisto sad that you use that ability, so you got to be very careful of that. Speaking of those ultimates, so we do see that Holy Word Sanctuary coming out from Anduin, the Blessed Shield, the Hyperion this time for Raynor, Angelic Armaments for Imperius, and of course Hanzo's gonna wait, and he does pick up the Dragon Arrow. Xul Gin Distillery looking to come over, get their Bruiser camp going. They've got 10 seconds until the point comes up. Hans is going to scout it out, but he's by himself, so he can't really do anything. We do have the Lightning Breath, the Ball Lightning, Entomb, and it is going to be Consume Souls along with the Nano Boost. So I expect the Nano Boost Consume Souls to happen and Holy Word Sanctuary to completely negate it, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be incorrect. What do you guys think in chat? You've seen the drafts, you've seen the heroics, you've seen their 1 through 10s. What do you think? Who's leading in this fight? Right now, Ban Cho had the first Punisher. It was a Mortar Punisher. This one's going to be an Arcane Punisher. Who do you think's going to win at this point? Oh, good night, beautiful holiday. Appreciate you stopping by. Sleep well. Johanna going in with her Condemn, and there's that Mephisto charging in, getting the Skull Missile going out, but the Diablo's going to flip Bluestein, and here comes that Consume Souls, and there's the Protect. Look at that. Nobody took a lick of damage, including the Lightning Breath, but it's actually Bluestein's in danger. Leo's going to go down as well. Slug it in, getting just demolished over here, and Skev gets the Leap of Faith out. That could have been much, much worse. Oh, look, by the way, Hanzo's a thing and shoots Cassia to death. So a 1 for 2 turned into a 2 for 2. Skev going back in, but Leoric's coming back up. He is already back on the map. And Ban Cho is backing away. 33 to 12 now. It looks like this one is going to go over to Xul Gin Distillery. Arcane Punishers are still very strong. They were scaled down a little bit in the early game, but they still bring a lot of value to this. So here we go. Johanna baiting it over with her iron skin, managed to keep from getting stunned. Mephisto going deep in there, trying to get as much value out of his lightning arc, lightning aura, whatever it is that he does. And there's the Punisher stun onto Bluestein and Slugganon, but the Entomb whiffs completely. Thankfully, the Punisher can actually just walk over it, so he didn't even care. And now they're on the wrong side of this tower. We do see Mephisto being potentially paused there. Yeah, there we go. As we do see that Mephisto is out of the game. We'll come back to that in just a moment. So we do have a disconnect, which is unfortunate for Mephisto. A very bad place for him to be. He was deep into the enemy team. They still had a fort behind them. Fort was still at about a third health, and the minion wave had just gotten there, so they do have at least some things to soak it up on their way back. But that Mephisto, he's just toast. There's nothing he can do about that. He thought he got an amazing Q. Exactly. Yep. So, all right, let's catch up on chat here. Since my window went to something else. XGD wins after 20. All right, Korov, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. What else do we got out there? Gotta watch for those ghostly images. I don't know if you guys saw it earlier, but there was a highlight reel from Darkuru, I think is how he has that. And holy cow, there was a Leoric that was completely invisible. Not a stealth Leoric, not like a Brightwing Leoric, but a Leoric with just the player circle, that match. And that's it. The only time you could see him was when he did Wraithwalk and as he moved around. So, craziness as we do get back into this game here. Leoric trying to make it out now that Mephisto died. Unfortunately for him, the lightning ball getting passed around on Ban Cho here. Cowboy Kyle trying to make it out, 290 health, and he will go down thanks to that finish by Imperius. So some role swapping. And looks like Shisui stays a little bit long on the Anduin. The Imperius charge comes in to try to help save him, but Diablo had the lightning breath going, so he wasn't getting stunned out of that. And it is going to be a dead Anduin. And that was with the Holy Word Sanctuary being used as well. He knew that Diablo had already used his overpower. He'd used his shadow charge to get in, so there's really only one other way. And look at this, Quinal's gonna get stuck by the Entomb. That one was not whiffed. And Xul Gin Distillery coming back into this game saying, hey, listen, we may have lost game number 1, but game number 2 is ours. We want this. Kill count 6 and 6, but right now Xul Gin Distillery is slightly ahead in structures. They do have that top lane down. The next one's gonna be down here in the bot lane. Next Punisher rather, and it is gonna be a frozen Punisher. And with their advantage, having that Hanzo down, they're going to go ahead and start clearing up the lanes. They're going to get camps. They want to get pressure and value thanks to this kill. So, Frozen Punisher. They've got some okay-ish siege with the Cassia and Mephisto. Not great. Countered by the Rainer. Let's take a look at what Rainer took at level 1. Ace in the hole, of course. Johanna does get that iron skin out probably just in the nick of time there so that she doesn't take further stun potential out of the Diablo. And Anduin making his way down. Coming back to his team. Let's see what we get here. We got a little bit of a bush gank as Dewett charges in on Quinal. The big leap of faith pulling him back, but is it enough to survive the consumed souls? The answer to that question is no. You don't even have to stay tuned for the 10 o'clock news for that one. And now, once again, Hanzo dead. Cassia getting close to finishing her Q stacks, to having that second stack of Q. And Leora coming up here to counter this Bluestein, who was getting some damage up here on this top fort. Shaman camp, that'll give them some nice value top lane. They already have some occasional catapults going on, but now in the bot lane where this Punisher is, they're going to be able to spend full time on this and not have to worry about top lane at all, as Ban Cho is going to have to deal with that. They're going to have to respond to that at some point. They're responding right now by getting their own Shaman camp to at least have some counter pressure. But right now it's all about Cassia pulling these down, and Hanzo trying to just get some free points in where he can, because he's got that longer range out of his arrows. But now he's in a little bit of a pickle, because if he gets any closer, that Entomb is back up. And we saw what happened last time he got into an Entomb. Looks like they're going to go ahead and give this. They've got just lanes everywhere that need to be cleared. They're going to go ahead and start clearing up this top so that their Shaman camp can get value. I don't think they can do much about this fort. I think this fort is dead for them. And that's the end of that. Shaman camp's going to push in the top lane, though, and Leoric's going to have to go up there to try to stall that, try to stop it, maybe even protect that top fort. As bottom fort goes down, thanks to that lockdown from the frozen Punisher. But Bluestein, very deep in there, gets caught and stunned by the Punisher and has the anti-healing grenade on him. Does manage to survive. And look for this Punisher, it's going to jump again. 4-man stun onto everybody except for Shusui there. They're pulling it back, trying to get it away from that wall just to make sure that the enemy team can't stop them. And Anduin gets caught by that root, but far enough away that he doesn't have to worry about the enemy's help. So 16 for both teams. Bluestein catching B-Fresh on his charge, but unstoppable going out, trying to slow down and get some damage out. Here's the Consume Souls after the Sanctuary. That's what you got to do to make that work. And now Johanna's going to go down. The Leoric and Tomb in the wrong direction, it looks like, but it doesn't matter because they do finish off that Rainer and the Anduin. And now just Quinal on Hanzo trying to poke in where he can. This bottom keep now is going to go down here shortly. The res timers are still fairly short. If Quinal can avoid dying here, then they don't lose the video game. But if he puts himself in a bad position, which he almost did there, Diablo was almost close enough to shadow charge him into that wall, and that would have been devastating. And now they've got Imperius, Bluestein showing up with that % damage, and Dewick going in deep trying to get the Hanzo, but instead he's by himself. I don't know what that was about. I guess he just was looking at it, said, you know what, I've got souls. If I can get this kill, this is good pressure for us. Now he's got to start working on those souls again. And here we go. So Bluestein and Shusui coming down into the bot lane, but it is going to be a 3v2. And here comes Johanna, followed up by Rainer. So it's now a 5v, everybody else showed up too. So they've got some value here. The big Hanzo arrow and Angelic Armaments was popped, but didn't quite get the damage that they were hoping for out of that. So basically just a trade of ults, which goes slightly in favor of Xul Gin Distillery here, because Lightning Orb was the only one that they used in that. Everything else will be back here shortly. And level 20 is not far away for them either, so Ban Cho looking to try to make something happen here. And their response right now is going to be to go ahead and start working on this camp in the mid lane. Hanzo, once again, very far away from his team. I don't feel like Hanzo is appropriately respecting with Diablo. Because your only way out as Hanzo is next to a wall, and Diablo wants you to be next to that wall. And here we go. So Mephisto getting in there, getting a little bit of damage. I feel like that's a little bit questionable. You're not 20 yet. There you go. Now you can start making those plays. So we do see Buried Alive coming out for that extra silence on the Entombs. Hellgate for Diablo, and they're coming in aggressively now on this camp. Diablo charges in onto Skev on the Johanna, but the Leap of Faith will get her pulled out of there safely, and they will now take this Shaman camp. If you're Xul Gin Distillery now, this is your game to lose. You've got a Mortar Punisher up here in the top lane. You've got the Shaman to give you value. The Shrine is active. You've got a full level lead on your opponents. This gets you a keep most likely, as long as you're careful. Dewitt is a little far forward, I think, for my taste, but he's setting this up so that Hanzo can't use Scatter Arrow off of those walls and potentially jump over them. I don't know. Like if I'm Diablo, I don't know whether that's a winning trade for you, because you can also charge him into those walls. So we'll see. And Diablo leading a deep charge with only Mephisto behind him. And Rainer's in the bot lane trying to get some counter pressure in this bot lane, but there's nothing like that's pointless at this point. That's just stuff to do, trying to get that level 20. It's not quite here. What do we get for the rest of these? The upgraded Consume Souls, the upgraded Ball Lightning, and Dynamic Optics, so giving her that extra range. So baited onto the Johanna there. Somehow I got tapped onto something. Leora catches the Rainer in that Buried Alive, and here comes that Consumed Souls, but it's not going to complete on anybody, so it's no reset. The big arrow hits 3 as Angelic Armaments and Iron Skin pop to save those two, but Rainer will go down thanks to that Lightning Orb. So now this keep is dead. The Punisher's at half health. You have most of your team, but you're missing Rainer, and that's the big damage that you need against this. Chastise goes out and manages to catch Cowboy Kyle. Skev is just trying to punch this Punisher, gets put to sleep as the core is just getting shredded 20%, and it looks like game number 2 is going over to Xul Gin Distillery. All right, so there you have it. 12-8 on that one. So not quite as decisive as the first game, but still a very good positive game for Xul Gin Distillery. They took the right fights when they needed to. They pressed their advantages when they could, and ultimately they got the big W for it. So I guess we'll go ahead and reach out to DeWitt. For an interview, see if they want to come in. Go to the casting booth there. All right. So yeah, so again, 12-8, we did see, for the most part, we did see some pretty standard talents there. Play the game out of Hanzo. We saw the Indestructible for Johanna. Valorous Pursuit allowing Imperius to teleport to the enemies that he's trying to chase down. So, overall, and what do we see out of Andon? Desperate Prayer. So, inner focus at 16, speed of the Pious. So that gives him a fast movement speed when he throws out that Divine Star. But we are joined here by DeWitt and Ankleshot. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, how you doing?
Pretty good.
So that was a nice split, 1-1.
Yeah, we kind of got wrecked first game, but that last one looked a little better.
Yeah, that first game. So let's talk about that first, so that we can come back and talk about the greatness of game 2. So game number
Okay.
1, like, I mean, it was pretty clear that the Maiev ban was coming out, right? I mean, we didn't even have to get to the draft to know that was happening. It was rough. So, you know, given how brutal it was like 29-8 or something like that. Every team fight you guys went into was, if you were lucky, you killed one of them, and if you were unlucky, you just died. So how did that affect you? Like, in that game, how were comms? How did that affect you going into game 2 and your plans for game number 2?
Comms weren't great, but we weren't playing it to our strengths for our draft in game 1. And we gave ourselves a little bit harder win condition, or I guess our execution was a little harder than theirs. And we really didn't coordinate our ultimates at all that game. And that's mostly on me. I was really slow with my calls. It's a little later than we usually play, for one thing. And,
I was actually just going to call that out too. Yeah, I was like, maybe it's just because it's so late.
But going into game 2, I don't know. We just wanted to pick a bit easier draft, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one that wasn't kind of all in on a single pick like we were playing that first game.
Yeah, that first game was hook somebody, hope that you kill them, and so many times, like that play that DeWitt, that you came around by the heal camp and you're like, oh look, a free Ana, and you got her, and then everybody showed up, and then she walked away and you guys all died. Like that was kind of the theme of that game, and I did like your draft in game number 2 a lot better. It felt more like what you guys were more comfortable with. And obviously it paid off, right? I mean, it gave you the advantage in a lot of team fights, and it really kind of punished that Hanzo even, right?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to play Hanzo into Diablo. And he played it pretty well, I thought, but there was some weird... especially one time I got a pick on him, and it was just a really weird interaction where he had hit his jump like right after I hit Q or something, and I knocked him out of the air, I think, which I didn't know was possible really, but yeah. And I missed a few plays like with Hellgate where I could have gotten on top of him a lot faster and picked him off a couple more times, but they had kind of a tough draft into Diablo, I think.
Yeah. And I think that we also played a little bit better since we were kind of taking the fight to them instead of in game 1, the Maiev would just show up and then we would die.
For sure, yeah. It very much, well, and not only that, but you were also looking to bring them to you, right? You were trying to hook somebody in and make something happen, which with their team...
They were just fine.
That's what they wanted you to do. And it didn't work out very well for you in game number 1. But in game number 2, like you said, going to them, you had the Leoric, you had the Mephisto, you had the Diablo, you had the Cassia, all characters that can, at least, not necessarily that they always will, but can engage in. And they couldn't really stop a whole lot of that, right? I mean, Johanna's a brick wall. You know, they have the Rainer to boop you away, but that's really about as much as you could hope for. I was a little bit surprised. So Ankle, since you're in here, tell me, like, were you in any way concerned about your consumed souls with the Holywood Sanctuary?
A little bit, but not too much, since I figured that DeWitt would be right on top of the Anduin if that ever came to it, and a lot of times I would actually just wait for Anduin to drop it first and then follow up later. Yeah,
you eventually did get one that was like there were 3 that I specifically noticed. The first one was completely countered by the Sanctuary. The second one was, okay, he's cast it, he's done, now I can throw it out. And then the third one was very close but didn't get any kills because they got heals up. Right. But ultimately, you had trust in your Diablo, who unfortunately failed you. I don't think he interrupted a single one.
I wasn't going to mention it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know,
it was
that's
kind of
fine.
weird.
You have to have that, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was kind of weird because we didn't really need to interrupt it, because they would all group up. I remember at least once they all grouped up for it. He puts it out and we hit an entomb on top of it and catch
Right.
3, and then I hit the lightning breath. And so as soon as it dropped, they were just taking tons of damage in a big group, especially with Mephisto's ring. So it kind of backfired a couple times on them.
Yeah, and you still get a little bit of value off of the slow, and it makes him drop it if nothing else. So it's not the worst trade, but
Yeah, for
would've-
sure.
Yeah, would have been better if more of them hit, but yeah.
Yeah,
Still
it
got
was.
something out of it.
It was as I was watching, you know, early in the game, I was trying to decide if this was a map or a match where you take Durance, because for that exact reason, right? They're clumping up. At 20, you can take yet another potential silence.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I thought you might have gone that way. And then as soon as I saw the nano and consume souls, I was like, well, just wait, it's gonna happen. They're gonna pop it, and the sanctuary is gonna come out, and they're gonna miss it, and then they're gonna get better about it, and which is exactly what happened, right? That top shrine is where you guys had that happen, and and really after about level 10 is when you guys started to pick it up. You were like 1 and 4, and then you started to catch up, and then it was 6 and 6 around the bot shrine, and then it was just your game. You were aggressive, going in on those camps.
Yeah. Maybe a little too aggressive at least once.
Yeah, like maybe trying to dive back after a Hanzo that was at the core, maybe? Is that what you're talking about?
I mean, that could be worth mentioning, but yeah.
There were a couple of times that I said, I don't know what Diablo's doing here, but he's by himself, like in the top lane, and you know there were definitely circumstances you did not get punished for being in a position where you could have been punished.
Yeah, I haven't played. I mean, our team hasn't played Diablo since like week 3 of NGS or something, and partly because of that reason.
Hey, I'm right there with you. I play him completely, just terribly, personally. Not suggesting you did. I'm just saying I play him terribly.
Yeah, I take either like I'm in a Diablo frame of mind, or I'm not at all. Like,
or you're just feeding.
So my team definitely picked me up a little bit with several mistakes I made. It's so much different than playing like an ETC or something.
Sure, yeah, for sure.
The single target stuff is a whole different story.
And you know what? Speaking of which, I was actually kind of surprised that I didn't see the ETC from you guys in game 1. That we saw the Stitches instead. What was the idea behind that? Were you thinking that Stitches, you were just hoping for that single pick and that was the way to go?
Yeah,
Or
I guess
am
we
I
didn't
just
really...
crazy on the ETC? Like, did I just completely misread that?
Yeah, I think that we were thinking we would have an easier time just picking them off, and then really didn't consider that they could just come right back at us with the dive comp, basically.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess they picked up my the second.
I think that was right after
rotation?
the Stitches.
Or I can't remember if it was before or after, but probably should have adjusted if it was before.
Gotcha. I think it was after. I think Maev was at the end with it was because it was Ana, then Orphea Blaze, and then Maev and ETC. So
Yeah.
at the end. So
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and Orphea Ana kind of explode if you. I mean, you can just burst through them, but like Maev is real tricky against
Right.
Stitches.
as
And-
you found out several times.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a pretty annoying.
Good deal.
We've had that trouble with like Genji before as well. I remember like season 5 NGS was. Ugh.
Bringing up all the great memories. Well, let's talk about a good memory here. So you guys are hosting this event. So how's it going for you guys so far? Like just overall, not necessarily your team, but you know where the system says you're 42% of the matches are have been played. What's your experience like so far? This is your second round of this, right?
Yeah. Second round of the tournament, or
Just in general, yeah, of the invitational.
invitational. Yeah, it is. It's going really well. It's definitely a little smoother than the first one. But that's because it was all set up beforehand and everything.
Better preparation will do that, yeah.
Yeah. So it's really just been breezing through, no trouble, especially getting like scores in and stuff. It's easy. And the games have been really, really good. I don't know how many you've watched, but I know you've watched at least 2 because you casted them. But last time there were a ton of ties. This time there have been a ton of 2-0s. But they've all been kind of in a round, so all the scores have been evening out. Everyone's really close.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how that works, but it's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm not sure about like tiebreakers and all that stuff, but of course now with you guys each getting a point, that'll put you now tied again with Ban Cho along with Winky Face and Do It Right. And then of course Nexus Cats and Wood League have 4 points. Lulu being the one kind of outlier there with 6 points right now. So lots of even numbers there across the board.
Yeah. And Church of Murky got a 2-0 on us, which I'd say it kind of shook up the standings with them getting on the board and leaving us a little further down. It's definitely going to come down to the last few games next month.
Sure.
For playoffs, those top 4. So pretty highly contested, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, then you have to get into those tiebreakers, and that's where it gets a little bit crazy. I think I saw, like, I think if it gets down to the third round, and maybe I'm thinking the wrong one, but isn't the third selection like shortest game? Is that?
It shouldn't be. There
Okay,
may be something. I mean, tournament could have something on the website like that. I'm not sure. Sometimes I gloss over things, but tiebreakers head to head, and then after that, it's a formula I made up before that is based on which wins against highest ranked teams. Because
gotcha.
I think it gives the best potential to win top spot if you've beaten top teams.
I see. Yep. So it says, for example, ties between three. For example, 1 map win against the top team yields 10. 2 map wins against the second team yields 18. So yeah, so you get 10 points for each. And
I need to alter that for 8 teams, but that's the idea. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It was 10 last time, so.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it gives you more value for those wins against those top teams, and then that makes a lot of sense, because then whatever place you are in, if you're able to take a map, even if you don't 2-0, that gives you significant value over the other people that you've tied against.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's a pretty good system because it also tells you that you're capable of winning against the top teams in the playoffs, because it rewards you for at least scraping 1 map off of the topper teams.
Yeah, for sure. Good deal.
Right.
Well, gents, it's a little bit late. I know you guys started a little bit later than normal, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Take a moment and shout out anybody you'd like to say hello to.
Okay. Shout out Nutcracker, our sixth man, and Ripper, who helps us out with strategy stuff. And you for casting. You got anything, Ryan?
No. I mean, you covered all the people I was going to mention, so thanks for casting us.
Good deal. Well, thanks very much for joining me this evening. And I know there's a match tomorrow. I didn't see anybody signed up for casting it, so I'm sure you'll be harassing people about that. I'll tell you right now, I can't cast it because I'm going to be casting for Wono's thing tomorrow.
I think I think Ripper said he might be doing it,
Okay.
and the game is between Do It Right and
Wood League.
Wood League, yeah. So should be really close. I don't really know who would be the favorite there.
Yeah, you know what? I haven't seen Wood League, or I'm sorry, Do It Right play personally, but Wood League has made some very strong plays. They were playing Ban Cho. That's what it was. So Wood League and Ban Cho was the other one that I cast, and that was a very good game for Wood League. They were very solid. So I expect to see them play a very strong game.
Yep. So should be good stuff.
Good deal. Well, thank you very much for joining me this evening. You guys have a wonderful night, and good luck in the rest of the season.
All right, thanks.
All right. Thanks, Zero.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. So that's gonna do it for us tonight. Between Xul Gin Distillery and Ban Cho, 1-1. That first game very much in favor of Ban Cho. Very heavily team fight oriented, 29-8. The second game a little bit closer, but mostly in favor of Xul Gin Distillery. While there was fewer kills, the map control itself was very much in Xul Jin's favor for that. They were able to get that top fort and then keep that pressure applied throughout the rest of the game. And of course, that's ultimately where they ended after having cleared out the bot keep as well. So if you didn't catch one of these matches, make sure you go back and watch, or one of the maps, make sure you go back and watch that. Otherwise, take a look again, just right down here, there's a ticker showing some upcoming matches. The one that we talked about here just a moment ago between Wood League and Do It Right will be tomorrow evening, I guess technically today. And a couple of other matches here from the WAMF group that I'll be casting, some other people casting. So if you're looking for some competitive Heroes of the Storm, make sure you tune in, and that's all I got for you tonight. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next time.